You know what would have been a good goof here?
Mm,
Hang on, I'm gonna make this a good goof.
okay.
You fill some time here. Do some
Uh,
filling.
uh, oh God, I don't know how to fill time. What are you talking about? Um, I've been putting this ball on my cat's head repeatedly, and he's very mad about
You
it.
have.
Yeah. I have learned today that people can get drunk off vanilla extract, which sounds like a nightmare because vanilla extract tastes like butts when it's in its pure form.
Why would you do that?
Because people are desperate.
That sounds like a
That's all I can think
terrible
of.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, like I've heard of people drinking cooking wine before, which is gross because it's salted. Um, but also just people are weird.
People are weird.
But yeah, I was today years old when I found out that people do
Today
that.
years old.
It's true, I was today years old.
Makes me laugh.
I almost bought a Ruby outfit
You
today.
did.
I bought a Ruby outfit recently, and I was very close to buying another one. I was very, very close. I still haven't ruled it out. I keep looking at it and thinking like this is a terrible idea, and like, but it's a great idea. I would look great in this Ruby outfit. Why are things so expensive?
That's a guy I wish I could tell you, buddy.
Yeah, that's a weird habit of mine. I like make a weird. It's not a hiss sound. I don't know what it is. I don't know why I do that. Um, I don't know how to kill time anymore. I'm terrible at this. Oh, it's still there. The outfit is still for sale.
No, no.
How much is $40 Canadian to
Well,
US?
let's figure that out.
All
CAD to
right.
USD. 40 $29.99.
It's $30. That's not bad.
This is making things worse and worse for you.
Oh, I love it. Why? Why? We're just gonna keep that up and think about it. Now that I have the summer uniform,
Mm-hmm.
the stopper has been pulled out. Everything just gonna buy all the Ruby
It's true.
outfits.
Okay, we can stop filling time now.
Woo! Finally.
I've got this. I lost my thing. There it is. My toolbar. My start bar. That thingy. I don't know. It just disappeared. That was real
That's
weird.
not something that's supposed to
Yeah.
happen.
You're gonna recognize this right away because you know what it is. This is might be the only thing I know
Oh no.
currently.
Oh
We're gonna
no.
read a snippet of poetry here because we are highfalutin individuals. I'm gonna skip the first stanza because I'm a jerk like that.
Why?
Because it'll give away the joke real quick,
Okay.
especially to you, Al.
Yes.
When you're reading poetry, how do you feel when you're reading poetry?
It depends on the poetry.
Okay, let me read you some poetry.
Mhm.
In what distant deeps or skies burned the fire of thine eyes? It's getting real.
Yeah.
On what on what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet?
Dude, you know I know what this is,
I know
right?
you know what this is.
Okay.
Um, but I feel like that's gonna get us into the mood for this episode.
Okay. Because I've like legit have talked about that poem
Mm-hmm.
like at least thrice to you.
Yes. I feel like that's the poem I know, and then there's another poem that I know of his that's like that I remember reading in that romanticism class. But like other than that, I don't really know much Blake. Mostly because like that was the thing. That was who we started with in that class, and it was the hardest.
Yeah, Blake is tough.
It is, especially because he's like
Um,
he's the earliest person in like that movement. And it's super weird that he's like also the toughest. By the way, hello, welcome to this week's episode of Sea Slam Checkup OVA, your favorite romanticism poetry podcast.
as we do.
This is episode 119. I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc Allen Ladium.
Hello.
This is a podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, and manga. And today we are talking about Devil May Cry 5. Which if you're wondering and you're like, man, I haven't played Devil May Cry 5 yet, why are they starting off with talking about William Blake poetry? We will get to that. But first, we have some breaking news.
Oof.
That's the breaking news song.
It just makes me want to pee.
I'm sorry, my breaking news song makes you want to pee. This is not going to be breaking news by the time you listen to this because it's going to be well after the fact, but it is for us today.
Yep.
We watched that Google thing.
Yeah, we definitely watched that Google thing.
Oh boy. I mean, to be fair, there had been rumors abound about Google getting into games for a while now. Mostly it was like, hey, they're probably making a streaming thing, and lo and behold, they're making a streaming thing.
Yeah.
A lot of so let's break this down. A lot of that tech sounds real interesting. If we're just talking about it from a technological standpoint, some of the ideas they're going with, and presumably the stuff that they're talking about is stuff that they think works. It's very fascinating from a technological standpoint. Like the ideas of like, creating peer-to-peer matchmaking without getting in the way of ISPs and all that sort of stuff, streaming instantly without downloads or anything like that. All that stuff sounds real interesting, and it sounds like the future of games is pretty much, it's kind of where it's heading. I know a lot of people have been talking about streaming for quite some time now and trying to dip their toes into it. But, there are some caveats which they failed to really talk about today. Mostly like, hey, let's say most of the United States is not adequately prepared infrastructurally for good internet. And the way they are making this thing, at least like setting it out to be, is that you're probably going to need good internet to have this thing, work properly. As with most streaming things. Like, if you think you're going to be able to, like, I mean, there's been reports, when they did their beta test in late last year that like, hey, supposedly people were doing this on like kind of lower end connections, like maybe like a 20 megabyte down, and even like going off of Wi-Fi, and they were saying, hey, this still works pretty well. Like there's pretty low latency, like very little hiccups or anything like that. But even 20 megs down is still kind of like, that's good, but like not the whole country has 20 megs down. There's a lot of people out there who's going to have like maybe 5 at best. At best. And this is a sort of thing you're not going to be able to use on 5 megs down and get like the quality that they want, not get like the latency that they are trying to push for, not get the interference that they're saying that's not going to be there. And also, we live in an era where ISPs are pretty much monopolizing whatever area that you live in, where you basically have very little choice of what internet provider that
Ooh, don't I know it?
will give you services. And some of those internet providers are also implementing things like data caps.
Yep.
To where you can't download like up to a certain specific amount, maybe like let's say like a 500 gig data cap. You go over that, you're gonna be paying them blood money.
Yep.
And
you get throttled, in which case you can't use this.
You get throttled. And this is the sort of thing that's gonna, if like you're using this constantly, that's gonna hike that up, and you're gonna run into some data cap issues. And like I said, this is stuff that they, a lot of people around the edges are like, hey, this is a thing you're going to have to deal with, and they did not talk about during their presentation, which is not the least bit surprising, but it is definitely a thing that's going to become an issue. And I think some people have kind of come out and said, like, hey, this sounds like the technology's there, but the infrastructure's not. Like, we are still years away from, like, the infrastructure in this country specifically getting up to speed enough to where, like, this sort of thing would work for most of the country.
Which, with them advertising it as it's for everybody,
like,
it's for everybody who has the ability to have that much internet.
And the idea that, like, oh, well, we're doing this so you don't have to pay hundreds of dollars to buy a console every 6-7 years, when you're also spending hundreds of dollars on phones and computers, which is where you are going to be playing these on. So there's really not that much of a cost reduction in that sense. So there's a lot of, like, I feel like mixed messaging within that announcement, like,
and a lot of potential problems.
Specifically, like, the idea that, hey, going down this route, if you were to go down the whatever the heck Stadia.
I think that's a fake sugar, but Stadia is the name, I think.
If you go down that route, you're basically saying, hey, I am going to be okay with not owning any of these games.
Yeah, Google own my life.
Google will own all those games. And with that comes the idea, like, hey, they can turn all this stuff off at any time they want. Like, I mean, we look at Google as this huge, corporation that's worth billions upon billions upon billions of dollars. But that doesn't mean, like, they have the best track record in terms of introducing new ideas or services and them being like a home run, knocking it out of the park every time. Google Plus.
Yes.
Which I think they just recently shut down or are about to shut down. A prime example of that, where they tried to get into the social media space and that thing flopped horribly.
Super bad.
And there's no guarantee that, like, hey, this thing's going to take off in the way that they think it is. Like, if it fails, they could just as easily one day just turn all the servers off, and you would have zero access to all those games you've potentially bought or subscribed to, or whatever their thing's going to become. And any, like, exclusive games that they're talking about making for that thing are gone forever, because they will just be digital only, and that's a terrible, terrible thing for an industry that already has incredible amounts of problems with game preservation.
Yep.
It's yeah.
Super problematic.
Like I said, I think some of the way they're talking, like, the technology aspects of it are interesting, but there are other aspects of it that I feel like outweigh this that are just absolutely terrifying.
Also, that controller looks like butts.
Yeah, and then they put the Konami code on the back of it for no reason. It's like, hey, we like games. Hey, you remember the Konami code? You want to talk about some game theory?
Ugh, that guy. His pants are too tight. Like, I heard his voice because I didn't have the video up. I just had, like, it in the background while I was working, and I heard his voice and I immediately cringed at my desk. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So yeah, I feel like we just kind of, like, wanted to talk about that for a hot sec, just because, like, man, we are really just barreling down into this dark cyberpunk future, aren't we?
Ugh. Speaking of dark cyberpunk futures that aren't existent, I guess let's talk about Devil May Cry. It's not cyberpunk at all, but it is a dark future-ish.
All right, future-ish. I don't know what time period this takes place in.
I mean, it's pretty modern, but we can call it future-ish.
Sure.
There's a mechanical hand that can, like, zip people around. That's pretty future-ish.
Sure.
And probably way more useful than this Google thing.
Devil May Cry 5. So you have played a lot of these games, which is the exact opposite of me, where I've briefly dabbled with the DMC reboot. Like, I own it, but I haven't, like, beat it, and that's pretty much the extent of my knowledge of Devil May Cry.
And I'm the opposite. I've
Mhm.
played all like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but not the reboot. So we literally have the exact opposite experience
It's
there.
wild.
But luckily, we have a very terribly music history video to keep you up to speed on what's happening in Devil May Cry.
Yep.
Oof, that music. I muted
You
it.
did.
I was like, how do I make this music stop? Oh, wait, I have a mute button on my TV.
So I don't know if I would have actually like gone to the extent of actually like wanting to play this game if it wasn't for like watching you play the first couple of missions of this and being like, what is this game?
Let's be real. It was all Nico. Nico
It's
made you
true.
want to buy this game. Nico's great.
It was Nico and then seeing those live action versions of those cutscenes.
Oh, those are funny.
Those are really, really good. So yeah, this game's insane.
So for context, you have three main protagonists in this game.
You do.
You have Dante, who we all know and maybe love, depending on your perspective.
Dante from the Devil May Cry series.
Dante,
Featuring
the Devil
Dante.
May Cry series.
Yes.
We have Nero, who is the protagonist from 4, who was originally supposed to take Dante out, not on a date, but kill him. And obviously that didn't work out. And then we have V, who is our new edgelord boy.
He just came right out of the Hot Topic and is ready to fight.
He has a cane and like a weird laced up vest and
ton of tattoos.
He kind of looks like Adam Driver as Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very, very edgelordy, and he has a book with him that he keeps. It says V on the front.
It does. My favorite thing about the live action cutscenes is that they keep that same version, but it's a book, but it's just like the cover and everything's just taped over, and there's just a taped V on the cover.
Yep.
It's really good. So yeah, those are your three main protagonists that you all play as. They all, well, two of them play similarly. One of them plays very differently.
Yeah, so Dante has his normal like sword play and then gun play. Nero plays almost exactly like he did in 4. He does have a loss of the demon arm, but in exchange he gets a zippy mechanical arm. But still, like his big gun and his sword, he uses. And then V has 3 demons that he can summon, and usually you stay back as him until like the demons have done enough damage. Then you can go in and do the finishing hit with him because he can't actually attack himself. So his demons are this little panther guy that has a name that I can't remember. Shadow, and this little bird guy who's kind of like Iago.
He's Griffin.
And then you have Nightmare, the big dude, the big boy.
Who you just summon, and he just like does whatever he wants.
Yeah, basically. He's like, all right, I'm here, what up? Which, yeah, Griffin is definitely Iago. It's very funny. Man, I wish that the actual animated version of V had the taped V book.
I wish he had the live action version of the bird too, and the panther.
That's so funny. It's like this guy in like a black suit with like little sparkly fabric behind him making the wings.
Or they'll just bring in like a dummy bird at some point. Like he'll just hold it up in front of him.
Yeah, that's good too.
It's real good. Oh man. So yeah, those are your 3 protagonists. I really enjoyed playing as V because it made me feel like I was actually being really good at the game compared to the other 2.
Yeah,
where I was like, oh, I'm not. I was like, man, when I'm playing as V, I could pull off all these triple S's all the time. I'm just like killing it.
Yeah, I got triple S's all the time as V, and I think the most that I could really pull off consistently with Nero was SS. Dante, on the other hand, I didn't do well with him at all.
Me either.
Oof. Which is funny because that's like the style that people are so used to, and they're like, I want to play as Dante. It's like, oh my god, guys, like give these other people a shot. Especially V, like his playstyle is really interesting.
Yeah.
Also, you can so there's like the unlock ability system as always, and you can unlock ability with V so that he can like ride on Shadow like a freaking skateboard.
Yep.
And it's amazing. Like he has this cane and everything. He's like, woo!
It's really good.
But yeah, you just kind of cycle through these dudes depending on what's happening in a story, and it's wild.
Mhm.
That's to put it mildly. You start out with Nero, and he's real mad because his arm is gone. And he's gonna go get revenge. You're in like this weird hellscape, and V is there, but you're kind of told like I don't trust V, and so you're like I don't know that I trust V because you don't trust V. Eventually, you get to the big baddie there, and Dante is there and having a very bad time. He's like, "This was a bad mistake. We should not have come here. We should leave. Please leave. You're dead weight. Please leave."
What do you mean, dead weight?
Which becomes a sticking point for the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
That he called him dead weight. But yeah, the fact that Dante, like, in the first maybe 30 minutes of the game, is like, nope, we've messed up. This was bad. Why did we do this?
We done goofed.
We done goofed. Please leave. Lady and Trish are both like knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
Dante is suffering. Nero is taken out. Again, not on a date, but V takes him away so that he doesn't do something stupid. And Dante's just left there to do something stupid.
They're all like, well, he's probably dead.
The city gets pretty messed up. People die. I forget his name. The guy who gives Dante his missions. Oh crud! What's his name? Morrison, yes. Morrison's like, oh, that's bad. That's a big tree.
We learned some not so great things about his voice actor.
Yeah, that's upsetting.
Oof. Nothing like hiring a white dude to play a black guy.
Yeah, don't do that, guys. There are people that are very talented that are not white guys that
Especially
you can hire.
a person who has done racist videos.
Yeah, don't do that either. That's also really not good. You know what else is really not good? Nico is like the best character in this game. Also, she is distinctly a woman of color.
Mm-hmm.
Her dad is a man of color. There is a skin you can put on her that makes her blonde and white.
Ugh.
Yep. I was like, no. She's beautiful. Look at her. She's beautiful. Leave her alone. And she just looks so like washed out when she's in that version. They take her glasses off. I'm like, no.
That's gross.
That's not my Nico.
Apparently one of Nico's tattoos also quotes William Blake.
It does. That is a fact.
Amazing.
That is a fact.
Devil May Cry 5. We love William Blake.
So in case you're wondering why we're quoting William Blake shows up a lot in this game. This is probably the most that I've ever seen William Blake in a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until we make our Atome.
It's true. Featuring V from the Devil May Cry series.
And then you'll just have naked William Blake all the time.
Yes. I can't even tell you another game that features William Blake.
I could think of a movie, but not a game. Because my introduction to William Blake was when I was a distinctly emotional and edgelordy high school owl, and there was this film called The Dangerous Lives of Altar Boys.
Mm-hmm.
And they quote the tiger in there, which you have quoted to us earlier in this podcast. Which you started out like, I know what this is.
I knew you would immediately know what it was.
I also had to sing the tiger in choir when I was in school.
Yeah, which is wild.
Yeah, it's a thing. Because I'm pretty sure Tennessee was not ready for William Blake to be sung in a choral fashion. But yeah, William Blake is all over this game and is great. Finally, romanticism, at least early romanticism, is getting the attention that it deserves.
Yes.
Which we'll talk about it in a bit, but they use one of his poems in a very clever way, which was very unexpected for me, but I was real stoked about it because it was smart as heck. You might know what I'm talking about, but you might not. I don't know if you know it. You might know it. So anyway, we start off as Nero, and we're hanging out with Nico. You get that great opening sequence.
Man, it's real good.
I was sold right then and there. I'm like, yep, this is great. This is one of the greatest opening sequences I've ever seen.
One of the things I actually I really enjoyed about this game is the idea that this was all just like all the events, like, or I guess most of the events of this game, excluding like the backstory bits, it all takes place in a single day. It's just like, here's this one long day that just is terrible. Crap's just happening all over the place, and we have to suffer through it.
Yeah, it's pretty garbo. I think it's like, including the flashbacks, I think it's a month.
Yeah.
But even then, like, most of the action happens in a day. Whew. Nico is a garbage driver. She drives the Devil May Cry van, which those of you who have played Devil May Cry 4 know that Nero was given his own neon portable Devil May Cry sign by Dante. So that's how it ended up on the van. And so he runs a portable version of the Devil May Cry service with Nico in the van. And as much as I love that opening sequence, seeing it in the live action version with the voice actors was even better.
Real good.
That like cardboard van that they had cut out tied to a string.
It's so good. For people who I guess don't know, one of the bonuses that they included with the game with like the deluxe version was they included all like the pre-visual cutscenes that they created before they actually animated all the cutscenes for the actual game, and they decided to throw them into the game as like replacement cutscenes that you could watch as you play through the game, which is really wild.
It's so funny.
Like, I really want that to become like a new trend where like just companies just do that and throw those in like all willy-nilly.
It basically looks like a bunch of like high school kids with the budget of like $3 at a stick of gum, made this like wild thing that they wanted to like act out, and it's wonderful.
It really is.
It's so funny in every friggin' way. Like even them like trying to animate like the car roll and like her getting the cigarette in her mouth was so funny. But like we said earlier, like the bird, like in some parts it's just like this guy in a black suit with like sparkly fabric flapping behind him, and then in some senses it's just like a bird. Like, what is happening?
Real good.
It's so good. Like the main villain has basically like a cardboard box on his head. It's genius.
Whenever you see Dante go into like devil trigger mode, it's just like he just has like this weird like kind of like headpiece, and it's like all just like duct taped together. It's amazing.
It's so good. I would highly recommend finding those videos and watching them, just because they're phenomenal.
Like, you probably want to like play through the game first before you do that, because like you would need kind of like the context of what's happening, because you're not going to understand like everything that's going on because they're on like a little like a mocap set. So like obviously there's not like backgrounds or anything like that really happening throughout most of these scenes. So you would kind of need to understand like what's happening in that specific time. But like once you do, like it's legitimately amazing.
Yep. So you play the game and it's a little out of like order in terms of how you learn things happened.
Right.
But this tree thing appears. Dante is in it somewhere. And Nero's like, well, I guess we gotta get in that thing to find out where Dante went. So you're running around in Red Grave City, is that the name of it?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, still remember my Devil May Cry lore.
Because they make a big
And
point about that being Dante's old name.
yes. In the written bits that you get.
Yes.
What was his name? Like Troy Redgrave or
Like
something?
Tony Redgrave?
Tony. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. It's a dumb name.
It is.
And then eventually he's like, oh yeah, by the way, my name's Dante.
Okay.
I don't have a last name. I'm just Dante. I'm Dante from Devil May Cry. um so yeah, a lot of the game build up is Nero and V trying to like get up to parts of the tree. Um and one of the continuing gags of the game is that you can find these like payphones, which some people won't know what those are.
Nope.
But you can find these payphones, and then like Nico just shows up in the most ridiculous ways to like bring you your customized menu. Like I think the first time she like crashes through the ceiling to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. So that was always my favorite thing. Even if I didn't need to customize anything, I'm like, I want to call and see what she's doing. And then she yells at you for window shopping.
You got to see what kind of crazy way she'll show up to you at this point.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You know, I'm just gonna say this. Nico is what Cindy could have been in Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Like they're dressed pretty similarly. They kind of have the same like I don't want to say like career path, but like they're both mechanics essentially.
Yeah.
One is more of a like inventor, but and like while Nico is dressed in like a sexy way, she's never portrayed as like a sex object.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, yeah, this is how I dress. What the do you want me to do? Like,
pretty much.
I'm awesome. And she just like that. She's like unapologetic about who she is the whole game, and it's fantastic. And I think that's why I like her. Like I said, she's legit like my favorite character in this game, and that's saying something because V was fantastic.
Yeah.
Even then, like I love Nero. I've loved Nero since 4, and I'm glad that he's back. And now he looks even more like Akihiko, and it's wonderful. He's like adult Akihiko.
God.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And it's JYB.
Mm-hmm. Who does a really good job.
He does a really good job. I had an argument. I don't want to say an argument. That's not the best word. I had a conversation with someone the other day about JYB.
A disagreement.
A disagreement about how he has the same voice in every single context. And I'm like, no, like he definitely has the same like tonality just because that's how his voice sounds. But like he does not do the same role every single time. And I would say that Nero is definitely a case of that he is not the exact same character as you would expect for him.
Yeah.
Because he's sassy.
Yes.
And I love it. I love it so much. But yeah, a lot of it is just build up. Like, oh, hey, we have a bunch of weird demons. Oh, hey, one of these demons is actually a lady. That's wild.
V seems real weird. Who could he be?
V has some strange ideas and carries around a book with him.
And hangs out with some weird folks.
Yeah, no kidding. Who is he?
Everyone's like, can we trust him? I don't know. He's kind of here. We're just going to go with it.
Yeah, like they don't even really explain like the only context of why he's there is just that he hires Dante.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's it. And everybody's just like, all right, well, I guess you're part of the crew now. Just, hey.
You're one of us now.
Like, it's also very Devil May Cry. They're like, all right, cool. I guess you're here.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the club, buddy. So eventually you do like get back up that wild tree after you fight like a demon with a belly mouth thing that was wild. And fight some like weird spider ladies, which I'm surprised you got through okay.
It didn't bother
Uh,
me.
like I said, we got to fight Lady in a library, which
You
you were laughing at
destroyed.
me when I was playing it because I was destroying everything, which is funny since I work at a
Mm-hmm.
library. It was very satisfying. Everything made very nice sounds when you destroyed it. It was a lot of I didn't destroy things that I couldn't destroy, and it was very upsetting that I couldn't, but I tried. Um, so yeah, eventually you do get back up that tree, and you're like, well, we gotta figure out if Dante's still alive. And then we get like flashback scenes.
Yes.
This is where we find out like this is where V hired Dante, and Dante was not always like a weird scruffy boy in this game. He in fact had a relatively respectable haircut and was shaved. Um, but also like didn't have the power or the water or the phone on
Nope, he's just sitting in the dark.
for his business. And he says it was Morris. What's his
Morrison.
name? Okay. He shows up and is like, oh, by the way, Patty wants you to come to her 18th birthday and you're not answering the phone. So we're going to need you to get a job so that you can pay these bills. Also, I have a job for you and it pays up front. And he's like, oh, I'm interested. What is this job? And then V shows up.
Hello.
And this is where he does the very, very clever thing with William Blake, which you won't know that it's clever until later on when we get to that big spoiler.
Yeah.
But he reads a line from Infant Joy, which is a Blake poem.
Yes.
And he's Dante's like, so what's your name, buddy? And he's like, I have no name. I am but 2 days old. And he's like, nah, just kidding. My name's V. Which is important that he says this. But you don't think about it. You're just like, oh, that's a Blake poem. Interesting. All right. This dude's really into William Blake. So he hires him because he wants Dante to take this demon dude out.
Which he specifically tells Dante, like, hey, this, you gotta kill this big demon that revived. And Dante's like, heard that one before. What's new? And V's pretty much like, this demon's kind of the reason why you fight.
Yeah.
By the way, his name is, let me mouth it and totally tell you who exactly it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Roar.
Oop, I dropped the ball.
Uh-oh. Can't believe
okay.
You just dropped the ball. Wow. Dropping the ball on this podcast.
I dropped the ball on the podcast. Yeah, the mouthing thing was a thing. But yeah, so Dante's like, all right, cool. Guess I'm doing this thing. And you get back to the scene from the beginning where he gets like his handed to him and he's like, nope, this was a bad idea. What are we doing? And you find out that like he lost very, very badly and kind of gets like ejected in a way. And then stays there for like a month. And that's when he gets all like raggedy.
Yeah, because he's kind of just like out.
Yeah, his hair gets longer and it gets scruffy, which I'm surprised that he didn't have more facial hair than he had after a month of just laying on the ground.
Yeah.
But afterwards he's like, I'm fine, everything's good. Time for me to like go figure out what the heck is happening here.
Which I guess for clarification, like V is the one who finds him because he's also looking for the sword, the Sparta sword.
Sparta sword, yeah.
And him finding that leads him to finding Dante, and then he tries to he almost like stabs Dante with the sword at one point.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, I figured that would be how I wake you up. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, that was a thing. Like I didn't think you would wake up otherwise, so I did this. Dante's like, huh, that's weird.
All right,
All right. Seems legit.
All right, later.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for waking me up.
Gotta go.
Which you do. He gets the Sparta sword. which I guess for context, in case you don't know, he is blood of Sparta.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool, you know.
I feel like they drove that point home throughout the game.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing because like Dante and his twin brother are part demon. Their dad was a demon and their mama was a lady.
Mm-hmm. Not
Like
lady, but like an actual lady.
No, not lady, an actual lady. She was a human woman.
Isn't her, okay?
And
Her name. What is her actual name?
their mom?
Yeah.
Oh shoot, I forget. Give me a second. I have I have I have things at my disposal I can find out.
Her name is Eva.
Eva. Oh.
Because of course.
Yep. All right. You know, as you do. Okay, so Eva, of course. You do get a flashback at one point of like Eva, and she's like, Dante, I need you to hide here and don't go anywhere. I gotta go find your brother. Bye. And you're like, oh, huh, that's weird. Why would this show up right now? Oh, hey, here's the sword. And then Dante does something that is wild and just stabs himself with it.
Like, all right, gotta do this. Well, does he do that after he learns what happened?
I think so, but it's still wild that he does it. Because the bird is like, what are you doing?
That's not a good idea.
You get the sword and then you stab yourself with it? What? But yeah, I don't remember exactly when it happened, but
I feel like he does that in response to knowing,
because he knows what he knows what happened essentially.
Yeah. So I think he does that because he's like,
well, if that can happen, then this could happen.
Well, no, I think he says at first like, hey, like my dad or my brother stabbed me with this, and that's what gave me my power. So maybe if I do it again, it'll make me more powerful, essentially.
Super powerful.
Yeah.
Sure, I won't bleed to death when I stab myself in the chest with this sword.
Which it
Who
works.
would do that? I know, but it's still a very bizarre idea.
It is. I mean, it's not the next. It's not the last time we will see that happen.
Like, imagine if that were to backfire. You just bleed to death with. You're like, oh god, I've made a terrible mistake.
Game over.
Whoops. Big yawn. Big choo choo.
Welcome to the podcast where we get big yawns and big choo choos.
So I guess if that happens now, are we going to say what happened?
I guess, I mean, we're pretty much like kind of going on that path. Well, eventually V and Nero, or I think one of them, they get Trish, and V's like, hey, let me tell you how I was born.
V gets Trish.
Yeah. So he tells her like his backstory, and then he's like, hey, Urizen, the big demon we've been fighting, that's Virgil.
Yep.
So that's why.
Who is Dante's twin brother?
Yes.
So yeah, that's Trish is like, wow, huh? I knew something was weird about you.
But I don't think they actually reveal who V is quite yet. Like that comes a little bit later. It's like, right, because basically Dante gets like his super duper devil trigger powers, gets a new sword out of it, and just beats the crap out of Urizen.
Yep.
And then they go to like a fake version of like their childhood home, and then he just beats the crap out of him again.
Yep.
And then Nero and V and everyone kind of show up, and they're like, hey, we made it. Dante's like, yay, we did it. And V's like, I'm gonna go kill him. Dante's like, that's not a good idea, buddy. V's like, no, I have to finish this with my own hands. I have to see this through. Which,
for the record, it should be noted that he's like visibly falling apart.
Yes, he is like crumbling. His skin is crumbling because he keeps mentioning like, hey, my body isn't lasting that much longer.
I have to kill him before
Yes.
this all ends.
I believe then at that point they do mention that the person who originally stole the Yamato from Nero
Hmm.
was Virgil,
Yep.
and then he basically goes and stabs himself and basically separates himself into two, the demon Urizen and then his human form, which is V.
V, which
Ties us back in.
um it does, and ties back into that William Blake form
Yes.
because the poem, because when he goes to Dante and quotes Infant Joy and says, I have no name, I am but 2 days old. He was literally 2 days old at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Which is genius.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. It's good use of William Blake.
It's really good.
It's so good. So yeah, that's not good.
So yeah, V's like, hey, I'm gonna finish this off. I'm gonna finish everything. Don't worry, guys. And Donna's like, oh, okay, I guess.
Doesn't seem like a great idea, but sure, do your thing.
So he climbs on top of like Urizen, and Urizen's like, you. And V just like starts monologuing about how like, oh yeah, you try to get so much power, but like I completely understand because we are but one and the same. We have the same desires after all. And then he basically takes his cane and goes to stab him. Dante's like, uh-oh. Tries to run after him. V stabs Urizen, and then just a huge flash of light happens, and then, oh, hey, what's up? It's me, Virgil.
Yeah. Did we miss the part where they were like going down or up the tree? Because that was wild, and that's where we get the hat scene.
That is before this happens. But yes, there is the hat scene. The hat scene.
The hat scene.
Wow.
Which prior to the hat scene, we have Nico meet Dante for the first time and completely fangirls over him. Like she's so excited. She starts fumbling over her words. Like she's so stoked to finally meet him, which Devil May Cry historicism points. Her grandmother is who made Ebony and Ivory, the main guns that Dante's always used. And she's like, look at my grandma on there. Look at her. She's got her picture on that gun. See? He's like, I don't see the resemblance.
Don't look much like her.
I look like my daddy.
That's all it gave me.
Her dad was a character in 4 and he sucked. So he sucked real bad.
There's a lot of references to her dad, and I was like, I have no idea who this character is supposed to be, but let's go with it.
Yeah, he's super sucky. He's in 4. But yeah, so she's super excited to see Dante, and it's just like, by the way, I just cobbled this together. I was real excited to make it. By the way, she also has this like Southern accent.
Yes, she does.
And so she gives him this hat.
It's a gift for them meeting.
It is, and I forget what the name. Is it Dr. Faust, Mr. Faust?
Dr. Faust.
Dr. Faust. Okay. Also, isn't that a literary reference? Pretty sure it is.
That makes sense. Google. Everyone's favorite thing. Faust is the protagonist of a classic German legend based on the historical Johann Georg Faust. Plays Faust, Dr. Faustus.
Leads to into making a pact with the devil. That seems legit. So
it's a Marlowe play.
Okay. So she gives him this hat. Donnie's like, all right, cool. This looks like a good hat. I'll put it on. And then it happens. We get an entire Michael Jackson dance scene.
Yep.
With Dante wearing this hat and a scarf that appears.
Yep.
While Nico is over in the corner, just like losing her mind, so excited. Yep. Everybody else is just kind of staring at him like, what is happening? She's like,
on?
yeah. Which is, again, a very good Nico moment. Very good Nico moment. But also, like, the fact that they bothered to do this is hilarious.
Crazy.
It's so Devil May Cry, though. Like, it's so ridiculous.
Like, they completely do this whole dance scene, and he's like, takes the hat, and like, all right, yeah, I'll take this.
Yeah, I'll keep it.
Of course, the best thing is that the live action version also has this.
Yes. Except for the live action, the voice actor was not quite as good at the dance.
No, but like he tried.
He tried. It would basically be like any of, hey, he might be better than if I tried
Yeah.
to do it.
I
But
really like the part though, like when because like in the actual cutscene, like he flips the hat up, like he just does a big flip. In the live action
yep,
version, like he does that, but it's just like him spinning the hat real quickly to put it on his head.
yep. It's really, really good.
Uh,
So that scene was wild.
yeah.
But then we get back to the whole like V and the separation and Virgil appearing
Mm-hmm.
and all that. Um, we also have had a reveal at some point in this whole shenanigans of, hat dancing and V turning out to be Virgil and all.
Sibling
Then like,
rivalries.
yeah, we tell Nero like, oh, by the way, that's your dad.
He's like, huh? What? My dad? My papa?
They're like, you can't kill your dad. We can't let you do that. And Donnie's like, I'll just kill my own brother. It's fine. I got this. He's like, wait, no, I'm not a dead weight. Because he's still stuck on that the whole time. But yeah, he turns out to be his dad. So that's which is funny because people have like been speculating over who Nero was related to since he appeared. Like people thought that it was Dante's kid for ages. Which like I can see where they would think that. But now we just know that Dante's the weird uncle. And it fits. It makes perfect sense.
There was a Tumblr post I saw that was like the the real toughest character in Devil May Cry 5 is the woman who had unprotected sex with Virgil.
So I had a conversation with someone about this, and there was, and after knowing what you know from this game, it makes sense. There was a moment, I think it was in Devil May Cry 3, that Virgil really enjoyed hanging out in a library. Which, that's probably where he got all his Blaking on.
Blaking on.
Yeah, all about that Blake. Maybe he just like boinked the librarian.
Maybe.
I mean, like maybe he got really into some Blake one day. It's like, you know what?
He stumbled into the Byron section.
He saw in the Byron section. It's like, lady, I'm gonna just have to lay you on this library counter right now. Let's go. Maybe he just got too much like his dad for a moment and was like, you're a human lady. I just read a bunch of Byron. We should probably just do this.
Go into the bone zone.
And then Nero appears. And then later tries to kill his weird uncle.
Yep.
And then ends up, continuing his business for him essentially. But yeah, there's this whole struggle of like, do I get to kill my own dad? I don't want to kill my own dad. I do want to kill my own dad. You shouldn't kill your own dad.
Everyone's like, no, you don't get to do that. No, bad Nero.
But he's like super into this idea. Like, I'm gonna kill my dad.
He's like, oh,
I'm gonna kill my dad.
Somebody say yes to this plan. Everyone's like, no.
No. Also, like, there's this one cute part where like he calls they say her name so weird.
Kyrie.
Yeah, Kyrie.
I just kept seeing it as Kyrie.
I would pronounce it Kyrie because of Kyrie Eleison, the song.
Sure.
By Mr. Mister.
God. Of course.
Yeah, it's a good song. You should go listen to some Kyrie Eleison. But that's what I think of, and it makes more sense for it to be that, since it's like shoot, is it Greek? Anyway, it's some languages, like basically like
some languages.
It's like a prayer essentially, and since she was like a religious figure, it would make sense that she would be Curie, but they pronounce it very odd. And he like makes a phone call to her like, hey, don't worry about me, everything's fine, I just gotta go kill my dad, but I'll be back, you be good now, we're good, right? So he does make that cute call to his lady friend that we never see, but we hear her twice. We've seen her in 4. I don't know why they just didn't make her a model here. But that relationship is super cute. Because he is very dedicated to that life. Like, there's Nico, who's a hot girl, and then you have like Lady and Trish, who are both naked at some points with very creative censorship. And he's like, that's great and all, but I have my lady back home. And there are jokes later with Nico about his hand, so I'll have to joke about that. But yeah, he's very dedicated to her. It's very cute because you don't often get that in video games.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just like, I'm gonna kill my dad. Everything's fine.
Gotta go. Bye.
He's told that he cannot kill his dad. Dante is there like, oh God, why are you back? Brother, you're the worst.
So we get Dante versus Virgil part 7,384.
Yep.
So you get to fight him, do that, and then there's like ready to just go at each other, and then Nero shows up and it's like, no.
Yeah, they're like about to kill each other basically, and Nero shows up in like a full-on demon form.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, buddies, I'm gonna like push you both back on your foreheads. And it was pretty sweet.
Like, I've had a change of heart. No one's dying today. You're not. No one. You're not.
I'm not letting either of you guys die. Now that I know I'm related to both of you idiots.
There's one point where like Dante tries to come up and he just like backhands Dante, and then Dante's like, "Are you sure you're not trying to kill me? Like that punch nearly destroyed me."
And then he just like laid back for a bit. He's like, all right, just fine. Do whatever you gotta do. Like, he gives
Yeah, because Virgil's like, well, I'll fight him. I don't care. And Dante's like, whatever, just do your thing. I'll sit out. I don't care. I need some time.
I'm tired. I just got punched.
I just got punched real hard. It hurts.
By your son.
Oh.
So he just like lays back.
And
cool demon fight.
You get to fight Virgil again, which is much easier this time.
Yeah, and it's like the first time that we've really seen Nero's like demon form.
Gets his arm back.
Pretty cool. He does get his arm back, which is wild. And I texted you because I didn't want to spoil you on anything. I'm just like, what is happening? Nero, your arm! It was wild.
Nero, your arm is back.
He just grows a new arm. Beats the crap out of his dad.
And then they're like, okay, well, let's go take care of this tree. We got to go deal with that. And Nero's like, no. And they're like, well, yes, we can do this. We're going to go together. I'm going to keep an eye on your dad. You keep
your old man.
You keep things hunky dory up here, and we'll figure things out.
I love that he says, like, I got to keep an eye on your old man.
Yep.
Oh man.
Oh, then Virgil bequeaths him his William Blake poetry.
He does.
Like, here,
he gives him the William Blake book.
Keep a hold on this. I'll be back for it.
Maybe this too will make you woo the ladies. That's his dad's real trick. Although I don't know, maybe there are some Byron poems in there, and that's what led to it.
Maybe it's like just a collection of romanticism poetry.
Perfect. Then
it's like a personalized book and everything. So
yeah, Virgil's right there with us. Except for he's a person, and we're really not. But that's fine. I'm still, I'm gonna stick to that whole theory about the librarian. I think that's a good theory.
I believe it.
Got to some Byron and was feeling it. Just feeling it. It's a good theory. So yeah, they decide they're gonna go take care of this tree because it's a bad thing, and they're gonna work together and be bros for a while.
Except they're also gonna fight each other and then get real mad when demons show up and interfere.
Yeah, well, that's just gonna happen. Let's fight like 7,267. I don't remember what the first number was, but we're up there now. And then when Nero gets back to Nico, she's like, "What? You have a new arm? What? I built you all these other arms. Oh my god!" But then she's like, oh, your lady, she's gonna be real happy about
I
that.
like how his response to her freaking out about his arms, like, everything else about the day has been real weird. Growing an arm is like kind of like the third weirdest thing that's happened today.
um, then you have the interaction between them that I think at one point she does offer to put on like a vibrating arm for him, and he's like, no, no. But she's like, I know you're sad about your dad and all, but you can cry. You can cry on my shoulder. It's
Mhm.
fine. Puppies go woof, kitties go meow,
And devils
and
can
you can
cry.
cry. Devils can cry.
And then the
And he's
phone
like,
rings.
well, he says, say cry one more time. And the phone rings.
Devil may cry.
Devil may cry. It's great. He was very mad. I love that scene so
Real
much.
good.
It was really good. It was a good goof. They're like my ultimate bromance. Those two are the best of friends, and I swear they're hilarious together. God, I love it. They are such good bros.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm just gonna put this out there. Pretty sure that like Nico decided she was into ladies after seeing Lady and Trish, because there were a few moments he was looking at him like, whoa. And I will say that's one thing that is kind of crappy about this game is they really underutilize Lady and Trish.
Yeah, they're kind of just there.
Yeah, they're just there. Sometimes they're there for like plot development purposes, but otherwise they're just kind of like there.
They're just hanging out.
Other than just like, okay, well, I guess Nico is totally into this lady now. I swear, I saw the look in her eyes. She's like, you're a beautiful woman. I'm into this. Meanwhile, I was playing it and I'm like, Nico, you're a beautiful woman. I'm into this. She's gorgeous.
She is.
Except for when they whitewash her, and then she's not so gorgeous.
Boo.
That makes me really sad. I'll have to show it to you later, and then you can be sad with me.
I'm surprised my game didn't like freak out and give it that costume at one point either.
Yeah, it's weird that your game like freaked out and gave Nero brown hair.
Gave him like one of his alternate costumes that I totally don't have.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah. I was like, did he just like randomly change while I was doing this mission? Like, what's happening? And you're like, that's no, what?
No, that's weird. Which you do have the after you beat the game, you have this little like not a loading screen, but a menu screen of Virgil and Nero just like sitting next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of funny. And then you can read like the documents where you find out that like Virgil's been a big fan of William Blake since he was a small child.
Yep.
And there was something else that we learned. It was weird. Oh crud. Oh, I guess the whole thing with like Redgrave.
Yeah.
And Dante basically being like, I don't have a last name. My name's Dante. What up?
Please, Mr. from the Devil May Cry series was my father. I'm Dante.
Also, he was a demon and he boinked a lady.
Yes.
But not that lady because her name is Lady. Complicated. Once I beat the game, I immediately went into the menu and realized that I could change the battle theme for Dante, which was good because his battle theme is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, V's isn't bad, and I would say Nero's is the best one out of all of them. Which, if I remember correctly, there was like a performance of it at the Game Awards.
It was of one of the songs.
Yeah, I think it was that one, because that was like the one that they used for the trailers. Because it's Devil Trigger.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, I immediately got rid of Dante's because I'm like, what is this crap? and I think you asked me, and I'm not 100% sure, but it might have been the song that I muted. It might have been.
Probably the case.
It was so bad.
Also, the Dante song that they had to swap out vocalists for.
They had to swap out the vocalist because the one's like a pedo.
Yep.
Yeah, they had a lot of issues. They had the one voice actor who was and then they had Dante's voice actor who was also and then they had that guy who was a pedo. Hey guys, vet your talent.
Yeah.
At least JYB is a good human being. JYB, don't ever let us down. You will make me so sad if you let me
It's
down.
not that hard to like do some like
Not not be a
some
person.
special some informed reading on your talent. Like, hey, is this person bad?
Hey, has this person been accused of sleeping with a small, not a small, but she's like a teenage girl?
Does this
Huh.
person have videos on their YouTube channel in blackface?
Saying terrible words that they shouldn't say, that it's not their word to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, why didn't we just hire somebody who's not white to voice this
Also
man?
true.
Ugh. Yikes. So yeah, Devil May Cry has some problematic things, but also one again they whitewashed Nico and one of the
Mm-hmm.
things, which is gross and very, very mad about that. But this game otherwise is just freaking fantastic, and I had so much fun playing it.
Yeah.
I kept telling you like I don't think that I'm going to finish this before.
Direct quote
We
from the podcast last week. I don't think I'll be able to finish this before next week's episode.
Yeah.
2 days later, hey, I
Um,
beat the game.
yeah, I got really into it.
I mean, I beat it as well in 2 days, so.
I got really into it. It's not that long of a game either.
It's not. Oh, I'm seeing this alternate costume, and it is very bad.
Oh, did you look it up?
Yeah, it is very bad.
They whitewashed her.
Wow.
They gave her blonde hair.
They
They
really
took off her
did.
glasses and they made her white.
That's real bad.
Yeah, real bad.
Oofa doofa.
It's so upsetting because she is beautiful as she is, and she's definitely not a white girl.
Who thought that was a good idea?
Yes, the answer is Capcom. And as we both know, Capcom, they're doing better, but they still make some really bad decisions sometimes.
Yeah. Also,
And
I have a lot of people have been very dismissive about Nico's English voice acting, saying like, "Oh, it's bad" and everything, and like, say,
how's it bad?
because they're dumb, and they're like, "Oh, the Japanese voice actor does it better." From her Wikipedia page on the Devil May Cry Wikia, Lynn based her voice acting for Nico on the English voice of the
On the
character, which
English
was
voice of the
recorded
character.
first.
Yep.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. I sent you a picture of her dad so you can see the fact that she is definitely, in the very least, like not all white. She is definitely not white.
Yeah.
Like he is a man of color. Yeah, Lynn based her entire acting off the English voice actors, and the English voice actors did awesome.
Yeah.
She was so good. Maybe it's the southern accent they didn't like. I don't know.
I think it's the southern accent.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah, so did I. So.
Yeah, go figure. Also, one thing that I think is neat in a way and a little bit subversive about the southern accent is that she is arguably one of the smartest characters in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And usually you don't associate southern accents with being like hyper intelligent.
Right.
Which is a bad idea to do. Don't do that.
True.
Not you necessarily, but people in general. But then in this game, we have this incredibly intelligent woman who's able to like manufacture all types of weaponry and hands out of demon parts, and also make this wild hat. And she has a southern accent. It's really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I will say though, and it's not really their fault, but the timing of them having a Michael Jackson dance and this is not the best, considering that like the Neverland documentary just came out.
Right, but like
it's not their fault.
It's not something you could really time and do all that sort of stuff. Like, I don't think they would have had time to like delay and be like, "Hey, we're gonna take this out."
No, and I would be very sad if they did take it out. Not because like, oh, Michael Jackson's a good person, because he wasn't a good person, but because the scene is just so iconically Devil May Cry in the sense that it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And if they had taken Nico's reaction to everything out, I would have cried because it was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was just not the best of timing. Again, not their fault.
Right, right.
Their fault was hiring a pedo and a racist and a guy who is dismissive of sexual assault
And victims.
and victims. Yes. All those.
Mm-hmm.
And don't hire them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to end on a bad note. I want to end on the fact that this game is awesome.
Yeah. It's like, especially for someone who really has no like affinity towards the series, has not really played these games. Like, I enjoyed the heck out of this game through the entirety of it. So
it's I haven't played a whole lot of new games this year, but it's one of my favorites of games that I've played this year.
Yeah.
Easily.
It's really good.
Very, very fun. Very, very fun.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap this episode up then.
All right.
So if you'd like more from us, go to seasonlanguagecheckup.com or sac.cool. It's where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Season Language Checkup and Jared and Al Watch. You can also find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you'd like more from Ann Ladium, go to annladium.com. She's got columns and reviews. And you can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/anime checkups, where we do Twitter. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. Next week we will do something. We have a lot of stuff we could talk about, so
yes,
we have plenty of ideas that we could go with. We'll nail something down and throw it out at you like a baseball. Oh, that's a baseball.
Or a William Blake poem.
That too.
Oh, that was so good. I love that William Blake is just like a major part of this game.
It's great.